Hello everyone, I am State Senator Bobby Powell Jr. representing Senate District 24 in Palm Beach County. And this is week 7 of the 2023 legislative session, the week of April 17th. And boy, do I have some important information that I'm going to share with you in just a moment. I'm proud to report that on Tuesday, Senate Bill 430, legislation that I'm sponsoring to identify and honor forgotten graves, especially those of African Americans, unanimously passed the Senate Appropriations Committee on Transportation, Tourism, and Economic Development. It has one last stop before the Senate Appropriations Committee in order to receive a vote by the full Senate on the floor. Tuesday also marked Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Day here at the Capitol. And there were groups of ladies in red who filled the hallways as we marked this special day. Of course, this included meetings with the West Palm Beach chapter and the Boynton/Delray Beach chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. It was a marvelous opportunity and chance to meet with some of my constituents from back home to discuss issues that are important to the Deltas. On Wednesday, the Senate passed along party lines legislation that, if voters approved, would require school board elections to become partisan. I voted against this bill, HJR 31. During questions on the measure, not one supporter, including the bill sponsor, could answer a couple basic questions that I had. Number one, how does this improve education? And number two, how does this make education better here in the state of Florida? Also on Wednesday, the Senate again, along party lines, voted to pass Senate Bill 1616, which shields from public disclosure certain public records, including the governor's travel records. It's another erosion of Florida's sunshine laws, which were once the model for the nation. And because the legislation is also retroactive, it begs the question of what the governor's really trying to hide. As for meetings in the office this week, I had the opportunity to sit down with Valerie Gray of the Rehab Center of the Palm Beaches. Also sat down with Ray Whiteley, Tracy Stallworth, and Lori Lyons of Faith in Florida, and Dr. Joseph Latipo, who is the State Surgeon General, who will be going before the Ethics and Elections Committee next week for confirmation. On Wednesday, it also marked the passage of HB 3, legislation which would prohibit the state from considering objectives aligned with environmental, social, and governance goals when investing state funds. Now, the day also saw the passage of legislation overhauling alimony in Florida. And finally, Senate Bill 1604, legislation aimed at helping the governor in his feud with Disney, passed the second of only 2 committees in the Florida Senate. Now on Thursday, I'm happy to report that my bill, African American History Museum Task Force, passed its final committee before being ready for the full vote on the floor. Now this bill will establish a task force to study the construction of a central museum of Black history. It unanimously passed all of the committees thus far, and this was the Senate Fiscal Policy Committee. This bill now moves to the full Senate for a vote. Also on Thursday, I joined our fellow 21 million Floridians who were abruptly jolted out of our sleep by an emergency alarm, a test, if you will, of this alarm system. This alert that was sent out by the state at 4:50 a.m. turned out to be just that, a test, an oopsie moment, a mistake, as they later admitted. Well, the error wasn't funny at all if you were asleep, or if you suffer from sleep issues or worked all night, while the governor, who's out of the state once again, pounded a fist on Twitter. I wrote a letter to the state officials suggesting that, I think it might be a little bit better and more common sense if we were to change the time of sending out these tests to a later time in the morning, when people are more likely to be waking up or already awake. It turns out that these tests are routinely sent out once a month, now alternating between the afternoon time slot and the pre-dawn time slot, but these tests are only supposed to be sent out to television stations and radio stations, not cell phones. So while you're woke up by your cell phone or other electronic devices, that was not supposed to happen. The governor who declared woke dead in Florida allowed this system to wake up millions of Floridians in the middle of the night. Woke can't be dead because everybody got woke up. So long as it's not an actual emergency, here's an idea. Why don't we just push the time back for these tests so we can prevent human error? Now, we wrapped up Thursday evening with a celebration of Caribbean Day. It was the 15th annual Legislative Caribbean Day, where we had the opportunity to celebrate Caribbean culture at the Moon here in Tallahassee. Finally, while Floridians continue to struggle with real issues and real problems state government should and could be addressing, the Republicans, at the urging of the governor, are concentrated on pushing through legislation to renew the battle with Disney, to ban drag shows, to regulate and criminalize bathroom usage, and to penalize doctors with felony-level convictions for treating transgender kids. Now, I get calls from constituents worried about property insurance. They're worried about rate hikes, their soaring cost of rents and buying homes, even seeking help with evictions. But, I've yet to have one single call from any of my constituents who is worried about the fight with Disney World, the bout with the mouse. Nobody's calling me to ban drag shows or to regulate someone's gender or to criminalize doctors who are treating patients or even the use of bathrooms. But here we are. While my colleagues continue to focus on issues that are not kitchen table issues, myself and my Democratic colleagues will continue to fight for the economy and fight for common sense issues for the state of Florida. Looking towards next week, week 8 of the 2023 legislative session, we're still in this process. We are absolutely in full swing, and the budget negotiations between the House and the Senate are expected to get underway in earnest next week. I'm hearing Monday. Now remember, passing a balanced state budget is the only bill that we are charged with passing by the Constitution as legislators, and it's our hope and goal to finish this by May 5th. To track legislative action throughout the 2023 legislative session, please visit flsenate.gov, fill in the bill number in the search box, and scroll down to the last action. That's all for this week's edition of the Powell Press, week 7 of the 2023 legislative session. I want to remind you to please like and share this video news update and follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can't follow us on TikTok because we just banned that too. I am State Senator Bobby Powell telling you to join us next week for week 8 of the 2023 legislative session. And remember this, a life of service is a life that counts, and we'll see you next week.